Patch 9.2 LFR is the same old shit show, while the undying optimist in me expected something to change and for it to feel somehow better. Well, it didn't. And that's what I'd like to talk to you about in this video today. Before I keep ranting on about LFR shit show, Jailer Cinematic also released, and everyone and their grandma and their dog have talked about it, and I have not specifically. So, just a quick mention before we keep talking about LFR woes. The cinematic sucked horribly, Jailer's motivations and everything else made me want to play even less, if that's even possible. WoW team should be ashamed. There you go. So back to the main topic of LFR shit show. Before you bother typing your "duh, LFR has always been a shit show, Gyro" in the comment box below, please understand that even if I'm restating the obvious here, it's part of my proactive stance of a person who loves WoW and believes that it needs to be better. What's in it for me producing these bad news videos that nobody watches? Not much, honestly, other than better out than in, as they say, and that's about it. I have always loved WoW, and I've hated the current state of the game, yes, even in the freshly unfolding 9.2. And I'm one of those people who goes and votes against the current, say, government if I dislike their actions, rather than just sits there in the background consuming the same mass media echo chamber crap, or remain indifferent. To all of those indifferent people, you are part of the problem, a massive part, as you give Blizzard no real reason to change. A few of us, however, will keep doing our tiny parts in fighting this horrible status quo. This is why I produce these videos, and I'm otherwise quite bored. Makes sense? Good. So the state of LFR in WoW right now is pretty bleak, in my opinion. Yes, brand new raid is always exciting for 5 minutes, and for disorganized, casual, tourist-like raiders like me, who have jobs and families and can't raid in a more organized way, LFR used to be a major part of WoW endgame that gave us higher level item loot, some epics here and there we otherwise couldn't obtain, showed us the content and storylines and cutscenes we otherwise would have missed, as WoW is kinda raid or die endgame mentality, courtesy of the game director Ian Hazekostas, who absolutely overstayed his welcome in WoW, truly. So I used to like popping into LFR and gearing up my numerous alts. This changed somewhat in patch 8.3, where Horrific Visions became my go-to and very enjoyable content, I must add. But otherwise it's been LFR, for the most part. What I'm seeing now is the same old shit show with toxic teenagers expecting their LFR tanks to know every bit of every fight during the first week of its release, yet real people, and generally acting like they've descended upon this crowd of automatically match-made plebs, while they belong somewhere up there in the shiny heavens of the other blessed people who have no other responsibilities and can raid high-end all day long. Question remains, why descend upon the plebs of LFR with those views upon the subject? What's worse is that these experienced players always wait until the group wipes to spew their toxicity instead of quickly summarizing the fight up front. For 90% of the raid, that's almost guaranteed to have never been here or done this fight before. You're right, this never changes in WoW. It's like a cult or religion or general persistent culture that I've temporarily escaped from to Final Fantasy XIV, and now very much regretting being back, and as even a first few minutes of exposure to it again in all its glory made me want to go have a shower. Before you suggest that I should unsub, oh, I have. Thank you for your creative suggestion. Bye! Final word here on the outdated and borderline incompetent LFR design, the loot and item levels. LFR used to be fit for purpose when there were virtually no other ways for casuals to get higher level gear. Then all this toxic suffering was somewhat worth it, I suppose, sometimes. At least you got something out of it, and it made you feel like you've really progressed your character. Now just purple cipher gear from Zereth Mortis zone is the same, or close to anyway, item level of LFR drops, and is infinitely easier obtainable, which makes LFR model obsolete. unnecessary self-torture and massive, inexcusable time sink I simply cannot advocate for any longer. We're not in the good old days of ghost crawler Greg Street, who was criticizing LFR off the back of all the entitled real raiders, who claimed that us casuals had no right to see raid content or get better gear. Fortunately, he got lost, times moved on, but LFR hasn't evolved at all. That is the biggest problem that I'm seeing here. It's simply unfit for purpose in the world of many loot acquisition options. Although it's still filling in one massive hole in design, which is addressing the casual player boredom. In other words, LFR still gives one more thing to do, and I have to say that it's good. So is there anything else that I enjoyed in 9.2 LFR Wing 1 so far anyway? Yes, I've quite enjoyed the final boss, Halondrus. The raid kept wiping, and I ended up leaving after like 4 wipes or something, but it still didn't mean that the boss wasn't enjoyable, right? Amazing, amazing sound effects. Halondrus' speech is something that I'd have as ringtones on my phone if it was still year 2000 all over again and I could be bothered to do that. A really awesome work of the sound team, seriously. Otherwise, Halondrus is the only boss with more or less challenging mechanics where you need to bounce the balls back while continuing to DPS the target and generally not sleep, which is proven to be hard for LFR crowd over the past few expansions, so I guarantee that Halondrus will be nerfed next week unless I've missed some hotfix notes and it's already been done. It is how Blizzard rolls for years and years and years. It almost deserves an award how to not evolve your game in any positive way whatsoever, keeping exactly the same immutable formula and habitat appealing to toxic teenagers with bucket loads of free time. I guess those people have to go somewhere else too, better than mugging some strangers or selling drugs in the streets. WoW Team practically is running an ongoing charity event, if you look at it this way and aren't taking any of this too seriously. I certainly am saying it all with tongue in cheek. Overall, am I remotely interested in staying subscribed and seeing what other wings of LFR have to offer and all of that? No, and let me answer that also by saying that I have missed the whole last raid, and specifically Sylvanas the boss encounter. So I don't feel like I've missed out on anything. And that's the full answer. And this is all I have for you today, my friends. So yes, I am a little bit disappointed with the fact that LFR model has not moved on over the years in World of Warcraft, and even this patch 9.2 that was like the final chance to win us back for Blizzard. They didn't win anyone back. I mean, look, I'm generalizing here. Maybe they won you back. Good for you if they did. Honestly, as I always keep saying, if you are truly, honestly enjoying the content, LFR or otherwise Seraph Mortis, good for you. Honestly, I'm happy for you. I'm just not, and I simply still believe that WoW and us casual players deserve better. Hence the topic of this video. Thanks very much for tuning in and watching, especially if you've been watching all the way through up to this point. Oh my god, I'd be so impressed. If you did, then please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll be speaking to you about something else gaming related next week. See you later, Gyro out.